Wimbledon 2025 wasn't just a match, it was revenge, a strategic counterattack in the Sinner-Alcaraz rivalry. So how does Sinner go from a crushing loss at Roland Garros to beating Carlos at Wimbledon, where he's a two-time defending champion, just 5 weeks later? Well, he didn't just get better, he made a game plan and he stuck to it. And today we're breaking down Sinner's patterns and the most important moments of this match to see how he won it. And we're going set by set. But first, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button so I can bring you more tennis tactics. Alright, the first set tells us a lot about what these players are coming in with from a game plan point of view. By the time we reach 2-2 in the first set, Sinner has sent a pretty clear message that he's committed to being aggressive and coming forward in the court. This pays off for him with an early break. And even more impressive, he holds to go up 4-2. But you don't walk away from a match like that French Open final without some scars. And through this first set, Sinner had moments where he looked pretty shaky. He mixed in some really clean points with some really hesitant errors. Carlos, on the other hand, looked really ready to rely on his variety, his movement, and his shot-making skills to win this match again. And you can see all these dynamics play out in the final point of the first set. This point starts with tactic 4-3-1-2. Sinner uses his serve +1 to attack the Alcaraz forehand, and Alcaraz is trying to center this ball in the middle of the court to even the playing field. From here, Sinner changes direction. This is to move Carlos more than anything else. And Carlos makes the interesting choice to actually run all the way around this. He hits his forehand from the single sideline, and what's more is he goes inside in. This is a really risky play, because it leaves the whole deuce side of the court open. And if Sinner gets there, he's hitting cross court into the open court, which he does, and he forces Carlos to cover coast to coast. Carlos gets there and hits a smart, deep, defensive slice. He plays it up the line. And then Sinner gives Carlos the same opportunity he just had. He runs around his backhand and plays an inside-in forehand. And you can almost hear Carlos say thank you very much, because he does a little more with his forehand cross. He hits an incredible drive that really pulls Sinner off the court. Sinner barely gets there, but he hits it hard. He hits it hard up the line and then he looks up to see a winner. But instead, he sees Carlos barely getting a racket on this ball and getting it back into play. And in that moment where Sinner looked up to watch, instead of seeing a winner, he saw the set go to Carlos. And that's important because Sinner's going to learn his lesson here. Now, this set revealed a few key things about each player's game plan. Carlos was mostly looking to be aggressive with his variety. He was mixing up his shots, mixing in the serve and volley, really relying on athletic court coverage and shot-making skills to win the points. If you're looking at the numbers, you're going to see Carlos had served and volleyed a lot more than Sinner had before this match. During the tournament, Carlos had rushed the net 77 times and won 61 of those points, while Sinner had only rushed the net twice and won once. This kind of variety generally works for Carlos. Sinner seemed a bit more systematic. He was very clearly trying to strike a tone of controlled aggression from the baseline. However, this first set did leave questions if that was going to be enough to beat Carlos. Looking at the numbers again, prior to this final, Sinner had actually won 58% of the baseline points that he'd played, and Carlos had only won 49%. And though Carlos won the opening set, this statistic really foreshadowed the things to come in this match. Now, the second set is where Sinner really shifted gears. Early in the second set, Carlos gives him two key forehand errors that set up critical points. The first one sets up a triple break point. Here, Sinner uses a backhand spread, hitting the first ball cross and the second one line to get Alcaraz on the move. That movement was enough to draw the error. The second forehand error came on a pretty routine shot exchange as Sinner plays his +1 cross court. And that gives Sinner the break. From here, Sinner holds it out and his confidence keeps growing. His serve keeps getting stronger, and he starts leaning in to targeting Carlos's forehand. And critically, by the last game in this set, Sinner seems to stop watching his ball to see if it'll go in, and he just starts confidently moving to the next ball. He's mixing things up well as far as his targeting, and systematically creating openings for himself. And now, in the final point of the set, we see that Sinner learned his lesson from set 1, and he stays ready to play one extra ball for the rest of this match. This point starts with tactic 2-3-1-1. Sinner serves to the forehand side of the body. Carlos gets a bit jammed, but he blocks this return into the ad side of the middle of the court. Sinner moves around to hit his forehand for the +1, and again he plays it inside in to attack the Alcaraz forehand. Carlos returns cross, and this gets the players into an open court position, where they're both out here on the edge. Now, as they hit to the open court, it sets them both up to be on the run. Now watch Sinner. After another great down the line ball, he stays ready to move for one more and finishes his point with a stunning cross-court winner. And he's going to keep that mentality for the rest of the match. This gives him a lot of confidence, and the third set is where Sinner really starts to cement the patterns that dictate this match. Sinner was rarely looking to rush the net right after his serve, but he was committed to working his way there. As he applied consistent pressure from his baseline ground strokes, and as he kept chasing down Alcaraz's drop shots, Sinner came in towards the net 40 times and won 30 of those attempts. So this was proving to be a winning pattern for him, and it finally pays off with a break to go up 5-4. And then he closes this set with a very strong serve performance. This included one unreturned serve, then a double fault, then an ace, then a forcing serve that earned him a swinging volley, and one more unreturned serve. He was going big and it paid off. Not surprising in Wimbledon, one of the keys to winning every match here is serving well. Set 4 was more of the same. Sinner kept going after his serve, and while he got his first serve in about 56% of the time, when it did go in, he won about 85% of those points. He was also taking some pretty big cuts on the return. And I think this was making Carlos feel like he had to go for a bit more on his serve, and so his serve percentage plummeted. However, there was a chance in this set that it wasn't going to go as smooth as planned, and that came when Sinner was serving at 4-3. He actually offered a couple breakpoint chances to Carlos. Let's zoom in and see how he handled these. Breakpoint 1 comes down to the serve. Sinner serves wide and hard to the Alcaraz forehand again, and it comes back unreturned. Next, we see tactic 6-3-4-3. Sinner serves wide and Carlos tries to wrestle this ball back in the middle of the court. From here, Sinner hits a change of direction, again attacking the Alcaraz forehand, and that drew the error. Carlos had been making forehand errors quite a bit in this year's Wimbledon, so it wasn't too surprising to see Sinner target his forehand under pressure. Now that Sinner had evened the score, he decides to mix things up a little bit, and he starts targeting Carlos on the ad side of the court. Then he finishes off the game with a strong serve up the tee, again targeting the forehand. From here they hold and Sinner would close out the match with another strong service game. Now I took a poll here at the channel before the match and we had about 57% voting for Alcaraz and 43% voting for Sinner. I think a lot of fans were looking at the recent victory at Roland Garros, they were looking at the head-to-head, they were looking at Carlos having 2 past Wimbledon titles, and I think Alcaraz is the favorite. Overall, after this Wimbledon final, their head-to-head sits at 5 for Sinner and 8 for Alcaraz. At majors, we've got 2 for Sinner and 3 for Alcaraz. Sinner's performance against the rest of the tour has been untouchable, but Alcaraz has still been leading this matchup across the board. I think this was a really important match for Sinner in their rivalry, mostly mentally as he comes back from that defeat at Roland Garros, but also it serves to keep the head-to-head nice and close for the fans. So if you've liked today's video, breaking down the game at this level is what this channel is all about. If you love this deep dive and want to get smarter about the tennis you watch, do me a huge favor and hit that subscribe button, and ring the bell so you don't miss my next analysis. And if you want to take your own game to the next level, head on over to my website tennistactics.com, where you can find even more insights and updates on my book that's coming out this fall. Until next time, hit your targets. We'll talk soon.